Welcome to Parsha with Purpose, where each Parsha becomes a guide to living with meaning, serenity, and joy. Parsha Shelach confronts us with a painful turning point in our history. The Meraglim, the spies, return from Eretz Israel and deliver their report, and everything changes. The decree is hard: 40 years in the desert, a year for each day they spent spying out the land. And the question almost asks itself, what really happened over those 40 days? They didn't speak Lashon Hara for 40 days. They didn't send updates. They didn't influence anyone while they were there. For the previous 39 days, or even for the entire 40-day period, they did not report anything. They did not do any damage. They were merely gathering information. They weren't posting on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. Nothing was going viral. How then do we understand this correlation of 40 years for 40 days? Their sin lasted for at most 1 day, not 40 days. The actual damage seems to happen in a moment. One report, one night. So why is the punishment stretched across 40 years? Rav Asher Weiss points out something deeper. Lashon Hara doesn't begin with speech. It begins with sight. It begins with how you look at something, how you interpret what you see, what meaning you assign to it. For 40 days, the Meraglim weren't just gathering facts. They were forming a perspective. They saw the same land that Yoshua and Caleb saw, the same people, the same cities, the same events, but they processed it differently. They saw funerals and concluded, this land devours its inhabitants. They saw strength and concluded, we don't stand a chance. They saw challenges and concluded, this is impossible. Yoshua and Caleb saw the same reality and read it differently. Because the real story of the Meraglim is not what they said, it's how they saw. Their final report wasn't a one-day failure. It was the natural outcome of 40 days of negative interpretation. 40 days of filtering everything through fear, through doubt, through a belief that this won't work. And that changes how we read the punishment. It wasn't 1 day of damage. It was 40 days of building a mindset. Now bring that closer. We like to think that what shapes our lives are the big moments, the decisions, the statements, the turning points. But more often, it's the way we see things day after day. Two people can walk into the same situation and come away with completely different stories. One sees chesed, another sees inconvenience. One sees opportunity, another sees threat. One sees Hashem's hand, another sees coincidence. Nothing changed on the outside. Everything changed on the inside. Chazal described Lashon Hara as coming from an ayin ra, a negative eye, because once the eye is trained to see negatively, the words will follow. But the opposite is also true. You can train yourself to see differently, to pause before concluding, to ask, is there another way to understand this? To look for what's good, even when it's not the loudest thing in the room. Not in a naive way, not by ignoring reality, but by choosing how you engage with it. The difference is not in what's seen, it's in how it's seen. And that's the avodah of Parsha Shelach. To recognize that your perspective is not neutral, and it shapes your reality. So the question becomes, what kind of eye do I want to have? Because the way you see something becomes the story you tell tomorrow. Good Shabbos.